Chung, your go-to for all things marketing, mindset, and manifestation. I grew my online business from 0 to beyond 6 figures in 8 months. My purpose is to empower women to step into the highest, most aligned versions of themselves. If you are ready to take charge of your life, learn how to design a wildly successful business, and leave limiting beliefs behind, you've come to the right place. You will learn the actionable tips and step-by-step strategies on money, manifestation, and social media. It's time to step into your role as boss, to raise your vibration and tap into your unlimited potential today. Welcome to the Social Reset Podcast. Hi, everyone. I want to talk a little bit about money on today's live. This is the theme that we are holding inside Business Activation Academy, which is my signature offer. We are talking about wealth and attraction and investments and all things money, right? Spirit of money, pricing our offers, all of that good stuff. And so if you want to join us inside Business Activation Academy, it is my signature programs, the Magic Business School for new coaches, anybody who is wanting to create more flow and just be more in tune with their offers and really turn their soul gifts into a prosperous, sustainable business that you love, that is rooted in mind, body, spirit, soul, and of course your soul gifts, and really teaching you how to attract your first clients, build out your first offer, really come into and own and hone your magic and learn how to talk about it and sell it and be able to kind of package it into an offer while uncovering and discovering your soul purpose and soul journey. So it isn't just a cut and dry business program. It is a becoming of who you're meant to be as a business owner, as you continue to build out who you are as a CEO, as a soul-led, spirit-led entrepreneur. So that's Business Activation Academy. And yeah, I think that money and attracting wealth is something that we seek out so much because as a society, we have demonized money. We have demonized everything around money, right? And when we think of money, when we think of the not so good, not so serving deeds that people have made around and because of money, we tend to blame money. And we say things like money is the root of all evil and money makes people do crazy things and money is really hard to come by, right? We have all of these ideas around money when in reality, money is just energy. Money is just a tool. Money is just an effort and an energetic flow of resource that we are able to cultivate for the intents and purposes in which we desire, whether that is giving, supporting other causes. Like I was able to give thousands this year to different causes that I supported, be able to help in areas of the world that I cannot physically be there and help, like Ukraine and Iran. And there are different spaces in which I am not able to use my physical labor, and resources like money are able to help people, right? And people always say things like, money's not going to buy you happiness and money is not this and that, right? We have all these ideals about money and they're right to a certain extent, right? Like money is not going to buy you happiness. But also we have put so much meaning and so much attachment to money that it has created this idea that it needs to do something for us or to serve us, when in reality, money at the end of the day is just a tool. You're not expecting a kitchen knife to provide you happiness, right? You're not expecting your car to be the source of all your happiness. A car can get you from one place to another. It can get you to a beautiful road trip destination, Or it can end up being, if you're a really evil psychopath, you can run someone over. It's not the car's fault at the end of the day. Nobody's putting the car on trial, right? They're putting the person who sat on the driver's seat that had the gas on the pedal that ended up hurting or harming that other person. Similar to the kitchen knife example that I give all the time, this is one that's very commonly used, so you might have heard it, is you could cook a beautiful family dinner with that knife, or you can use that knife to hurt somebody, right? And at the end of the day, nobody is blaming the knife. Oh my gosh, look at that knife. Why did this knife do that, right? It is the person behind the knife that is yielding it to do good or to do evil, right? Same with the car example. We love cars. They get us from here to there. But at the same time, you can use this object to hurt someone. And so it's the same thing with money. It's also the same thing with social media, right? We hear it all the time, like, oh my gosh, technology is ruining the world, right? What are we going to do with technology? Technology is just a tool, right? It is the people behind it and the people who use it and how we use it, all of us consciously as a collective, to spread misinformation or to connect people together, right? So social media is just another tool, just like money, just like cars, just like that kitchen knife, right? That we can use to create beautiful things, and we can also use them to create harm. So when it comes to money, because we have so many thoughts around it, we think of it as the hardest thing to manifest. We think of it as the most difficult thing because of how much we have created ideals and messaging around money. And a lot of this comes from our ancestry, our family, our lineage, and how the ideas of money have been passed down from generation to generation. I think of this specifically in terms of people of color and lineages that have experienced oppression and trauma. You are going to relate differently to money when your parents and ancestors and grandparents and great-grandparents have been through survival mode, crossing deserts and water on ships and on foot to escape war and tragedy and violence, right? And are living off of nothing and are literally in survival mode, right? Like when you come from parents who are immigrants or ancestors who were immigrants and are of color, right, you're going to have a different way of relating to money. There are going to be more blocks around money because of how people of color have been left out of owning land, around, specific jobs and specific ways of attracting wealth in what is their reality, right? And we see through epigenetics that this is something that gets passed down from blood, through our bodies and through our experiences from generation to generation. And so thinking about money and energy exchange as it pertains to online business and coaching and mentorship and charging for services, specifically as a healer, as a mentor, as a coach, as a teacher, as a leader in an online space, which I know most of you who are following me or in my community are a leader. You are a leader in some aspect, right? You are leading a community. You have people that follow you. Maybe you're creating content. Maybe you're creating courses. Maybe you have a podcast, right? Or maybe these are just things that you want to do at some point. Maybe you're not there quite yet. If you're not, join Business Activation Academy. I literally teach you how to do this step by step and how to create an offer and to attract paying clients. And I coach you on all of that. But maybe that's something you're thinking of. Maybe it's something you're starting to do and you're looking around and what you see is all of these people that are doing things in a more traditional sense. So this was my experience. This might not be everyone's experience, but when I first started my business, and this is normal, right? We try something new, we look around to see what other people are doing, and then we try to kind of do our version of that. So when I first started my business, I kind of looked around and I was like, all right, what are other people doing? How do I price my offers? What are you charging? I would look at other people's sales pages. I would look at other people's websites and essentially, and this is a normal thing. It's part of our genetic makeup is like we look around and we want to stay in the in group when we were in like tribe times. Because if you were in the out group, it would mean that you were on your own for survival and needs, and you wouldn't be fed and you wouldn't have community, right? So we look around, and it's very normal for us as humans to do that and just kind of figure out like, what am I meant to do? But the reason I bring that up is because you are likely an entrepreneur that is very soul led and very spirit led, right? So you are led to building offers and making money and doing your soul purpose based on your soul gifts. Okay. So the reason why you wouldn't look around to what other people are doing and how other people have done it is because you are meant to do it in a way that only you can forge, right? So it hasn't been done before, and you're not going to look around and find a blueprint because you are meant to create your own. And what worked for somebody else might not work for you in that same sense. Right? So there might be pieces of someone else's journey where you're like, yeah, that feels good. That makes sense. That feels aligned to me. I can see that they've done it and it's possible for them. So it's expanding me and my experience. Perfect. That's amazing. Right? But I think that there's a certain extent in which you have to kind of discover and trial and error and play with what is right for you, especially in the beginning of your business, right? If you're a new business owner, a new coach, a new mentor, and you're discovering pricing your offer, creating your offer, discovering what your offer is, what are your gifts, what is your magic, right? You are going to play around with how that looks for you specifically. And that isn't something that you can look around and see, what is this person doing? What is that person doing? What is profitable? What is common? What is popular? And attempt to kind of take that from the people around you. It's going to be something that you discover and come home to on your own. So how I want to tie this back to energy and money and attracting and receiving money is a lot of the time new coaches are going to look around and see, oh, this person is pricing their first package or their first like coaching package at $500, for example, right? So then you look at that and you say, okay, well, I need to charge I'm charging, maybe you're at like 700, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, do I need to bring it down? Am I charging too much? Is this why people are not booking with me? Is this why people are not working with me, right? So the error there is that we are looking around to see what other people are pricing, and we are not dropping into our own decision-making process. So this is what I teach in my academy. I have an entire lesson on this that has generated some of my students to well over 6 figures and have taught them how to price their offers and how to raise their prices based on energy. Okay, so this is not traditional business building. What is the market rate for this? How and when do I raise my prices? Is it 10% every 6 months or whatever? It's like none of that. None of that, and all based on your energy and how you feel in your body. Okay. And that is so important because it goes beyond logic. It goes beyond what is, expectance and what is traditional business rules around making and attracting money and the new paradigm of investments, right? In the past, in the industrial age, we used to have to work time for money, right? When we were doing assembly lines and all of that shit, people would come in, they would work for a certain X amount of hours, they would get X amount of pay based on how many hours they worked, right? And back in that old paradigm, only people who were extremely wealthy or had family money or whatever it was would be able to work lesser hours and kind of oversee production, and not have to kind of be in the labor of it. Now in the information age, the digital age, with what we have access to at our literal fingertips, right? I can share this live that can end up reaching thousands of people. Same with my podcast that reaches tens of thousands of people, as well as my own like online platform, like Instagram alone has 80,000 people, right? Like there are so many ways in which I can reach my people and people who are meant to hear this message, right? right? Not even making it about me, but making it about the message that needs to be shared through me. So I believe that your ideas and your magic and your soul gifts chooses you. I see little ideas as like little stars that are shimmering just kind of all over the place. And they're looking for people to manifest through, right? Ideas can only do so much because they're little spirits, right? And they're just kind of floating around. And what ends up happening is they're waiting for a person that they feel aligned to, and they find that person and kind of cling on to them. That's why when we have this idea, when something comes to us, we can't shake it, right? We are not able to let go of it. We can't stop thinking about it, right? We go to sleep thinking about it. We wake up thinking about it. And it's just something we can't shake, right? Sometimes we go to our day jobs and we're like, oh my gosh, I can't stop thinking about starting my own business. And I believe I can help people. And this is how I want to do it. And this is how I want it to look, right? So I believe that our ideas find us and they choose us. And that's why we kind of get hooked. It's like an energetic hook, right? Like these ideas just kind of like, they're like bursting, they choose us, they find us, they hook onto us, and then we can't shake it off, right? Because this idea has a spirit and it wants to be birthed through us. It's like when babies want to be born, and they're like they find like whoever is like willing to have a baby, and they like choose that person or those parents, and then they're like waiting to be birthed, right? So the same thing with ideas, is like ideas want to come into the world and be birthed through us as physical vessels, and it's up to us to say yes or to say no, right? So sometimes that's going to be hell yes, that feels so good, let's go and do it, right? It might not always be that easy, there might be fear involved, etc., etc. But what I believe is that it is so imperative for us to drop in and make these decisions based on our gifts and our talents and our magic, right? And sometimes that is not something that we're going to be able to price at a chart or at something that feels like, oh, this is the traditional way of pricing our offers, or this is what someone else is pricing their offer. We really have to look at the transformation in which we are offering this service and the years of results that is going to produce and create for the person who receives this, right? And I believe that when you price something at a investment that is like premium pricing, not for the sake of just making more money, but because you hold such a high self-concept of your soul gifts, and you know that these hours of coaching someone is going to change the trajectory of the rest of their life. And you can't even put a price tag on that because it's so powerful, the ways in which they will show up and parent their kids different and show up in their relationships different and love themselves differently, and the things that they now have capability and courage and confidence to do that they couldn't have done before, right? That those types of results, those intangible results, are completely invaluable, right? You are literally giving back years. You're giving somebody back years of their life that they probably would not have been able to access without that space. Maybe, right? Maybe that's something they could have done on their own. But working with you may have brought that into fruition faster and in a way that could have just been like drawn on for years and years if they didn't work with you, right? That's the way that I see coaching and investing, is that it isn't just, oh, that hour of coaching is a couple $100s, right? For me, it's like an hour of my coaching is like several $1,000s. I don't even offer one-off sessions. I offer a whole package that's a multi-5-figure investment. So if you were to break that down and divide it, 1 hour of my time would be thousands of dollars, right? And it wouldn't just be like, if you looked at that specifically and it's like thousands of dollars for that 1 hour, you're not just getting that 1 hour, right? When it comes to coaching, your most valuable asset is your brain and your energy, right? It's an energetic exchange. That's what I want you to walk away with, understanding that it is an energetic exchange. You are exchanging energy, right? So you're being paid money, currency, energy for your time and your energy, and you are giving energy, which is coaching, teaching, transformation, right? So that hour may be thousands of dollars, or hundreds of dollars, right? I know for my mentors, it's like each hour of each call is like all together thousands of dollars. I've invested over 6 figures into just getting coached, right? Literally just for my brain. And I don't regret any bit of it, right? Even the ones that I didn't feel like panned out the way that I thought, I always learned something. I always learn something about myself and how I want to be coached and who I want to be coached by. And there was always a reflection of me. I'm always drawn to teachers in which I am meant to learn from in that season of my life. So yeah, that hour of skill can literally change somebody's life for years and years and years to come. I am coaching students on building their businesses and starting their businesses from scratch, right? So like basic things, attracting their first clients, building their first offers, attracting paying clients, owning their magic, right? This is all stuff we do inside Business Activation Academy. And my clients, like, let's not even talk about the money that they're making, right? Let's like put that aside for a second, because that's like a whole other thing. Just the invaluable information they are learning about building businesses, attracting clients. That is something like the investment to Business Activation Academy is $5,000, right? So they're investing $5,000 and they are like coming in and they are like, first of all, that is like, to me, I'm like, what a steal, right? Like, that's a fucking steal. Start your business, $5,000, you're gonna make that back like 50 fucking 100 times, right? So for them though, especially if you're a brand new coach, that might be like, ooh, that's a stretch, right? Like, I could probably make that happen, but that is a stretch. They might have to go and think about it. They might have to borrow money from someone. They might have to like really save up for, I know so many of my students have like sat and saved up and they've like told me for months before they hit enroll, like, I'm saving up for this. I'm almost there. This is what I'm doing. This is so important to me. Like, I really want to get coached by you. I really want to start my business. I'm so serious. I've literally gotten multiple messages from different clients telling me that. And then when they finally enroll, they are in the process without them having even enrolled yet. They are already in the process of becoming this version of themselves that they're meant to be in this container. The price that I have set is setting a tone. It is setting an energy. It is holding the alignment for this energetic container that people can feel into without even having been in the container yet, right? Like, this is something that I am creating and setting as a precedent before you even make the investment. And even more so after you've made the investment and haven't even dove into any of the material yet. That energetic exchange in itself is an energetic breakthrough and transformation. So many times my students have told me, this has happened to me too, that they will make an investment or they have invested some amount of money into working with me. That same day, a client paid in full. I invested $20,000 in full for my first mastermind that I was participating in. And that same week, actually, I think it was like the week after, but within a week, I had a $30,000 week. Like, literally the money was like boom, because I had unblocked something investing in myself, right? So when there is a healthy circulation of attracting and giving and receiving and holding money, and you are clearing any energetic blocks, and you are allowing yourself to be held by the spirit of money, and you are allowing yourself to give knowing it's going to come back to you, I have all of my clients repeat this mantra when they're making an investment. It's on the checkout page. Every dollar I invest comes back to me times 10 or something like that, right? It's just such a testament to like when we are investing, we can speak intentions and messages into what we're investing into, right? We can decide what that looks like. I think this just speaks to like a healthy, very healthy money circulation. Sometimes we get stuck somewhere on that wheel because of what we've been taught in our families, what we've been taught growing up, and we hold on to that. So for me, my parents were very like low risk when it came to investing. They were really big savers. They wouldn't let themselves spend on expensive things or luxury things. Sometimes they would here or there, but a lot of their money would just go straight into savings, right? And so what I would hear growing up is money is really hard to come by, but it's really easy to spend. So that was a mantra that was playing in my head for years, literally my whole life up until like 2 years ago. I believed that money was extremely hard to come by. Money came from hard, grueling, extremely hard work, and then it was extremely easy to spend. So what ended up happening in my life was that money was really hard to make, but any money I would make, I wouldn't even see it because it would just go out the door. Once I started building a relationship with money and I built a relationship with the spirit of money, I allowed myself to receive more. I allowed myself to attract more. I allowed myself to invest more. Money became this healthy, super abundant circulation that has actually become so natural and effortless for me. I took staycations, I got massages, I slept until noon, I worked maybe 3 days out of the week. I was chilling. I was fucking chilling. There was no hard, grueling work involved. Yes, of course there was work involved, right? Of course I worked. Of course, like I've built a lot going into this. I've like set up a lot of systems and I have a team that I've built that supports me in this. So it's not like that just happened overnight. So please don't. That's not what I'm saying, right? But what I'm trying to get you to see here is that once I changed my money story, once I changed my beliefs around money, and not just that, right? Because that can feel kind of like general, like beliefs around money. Once I believed that I was someone who was worthy of attracting and holding and receiving money, once I believed that was part of my identity and I shifted that, that is when the fucking floodgates opened, right? And I started having 50K months, 60K months, 70K months, 80K months, right? My highest was a 90K month. And yeah, September was almost 80. It was like 70 something. It was like 77 or 78. And that is what is possible when you look at what is serving you in this current money story. Sometimes I see reels of really successful women, and unfortunately, a lot of the time it is women that get a lot of hate. Like I got the most hate messages ever on the videos where I talk about working not so much and making a shit ton of money, or going on vacation while my company runs. And people just assume things about me and who I am and what kind of business I run just by me saying that. And a lot of people will share like, oh yeah, this is how I live my life. This is my lifestyle, right? And I see the comments. Like I try not to read the comments, but sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes I don't even expect it to be like hateful. It's just like it ends up being negative. And I'll see people comment things like, oh yeah, it must be really nice because you have money, or you're able to do that because you have money, right? Or you like, you know, that's something that's like available for you, but not for me. Something around that energy, right? Like, oh yeah, must be nice for you. And what I see a lot of the time is people who are broke and are in this mindset of like, oh my gosh, like I'm not going to do anything about this, like terrible like economy and all of these things, and like the whole system is just fucked, right? Like, which in a lot of cases, like and I agree with a lot of that sentiment, where there is a lot of systems and structures that are very old paradigm and are not serving most of the people unless you're a wealthy white man, right? And so I see that, and at the same time I am looking at the perspective of creating and putting more hands into women of color, and being able to be more in what's the right word, like sovereignty and autonomy and independence over the way that you attract and make money, right? As much as you can be, right? Like as an entrepreneur, like you still have to pay taxes, and there's certain things that you just kind of have to do as part of you just being an entrepreneur, making money, etc. But at the same time, I think there is so much beauty in shifting that story around making money and around how that is available to you and for you, that doesn't involve just sitting and complaining and commenting on people's lives and whatnot, which I don't think is any of you, of course. But I do want to point out that that is what I see in a lot of people, based on I just checked in and someone just paid in full for the academy, which is amazing. That's so cool. I'm literally here talking about attracting and receiving, and here comes in $5,000. So yeah, I love that. I always, whenever this happens, I always just like place hand over my heart. I just think of the person and their name and what they just invested, and I just send them a beam of light, and just hold gratitude. Thank you for investing in the academy. That is so amazing. And yeah, I love that just happened while I was on live and talking about attracting money, and here comes over $5,000 paid in full. Amazing. So yeah, I want to highlight, how we create these stories, and then we kind of we live in them, we just kind of like make our bed and we're like, oh, I'm comfy here. This is what my parents have told me my whole life around money. This is what my friends believe about money. And this is what's available for me because of my, because of my whatever, right? We make all of these stories about how like, oh, I don't look like that CEO, or that CEO is white and is a male and I'm not. And so I'm not able to, achieve that, or this person is neurotypical. I am not, right? So their organization, whatever we think is superior in our minds, not just in our minds, but as we've created as a society, because we live in a white supremacist society, is stories that we will make up and believe and tell ourselves over and over around the attraction of wealth and what is available, right? And so I also want to note that for people of color, and if you are a child of immigrants, there is so much validity in which this is 100% real, and where we have been left out of making money, right? Women of color, we have been left out of money-making conversations and experiences and decisions for a really long time, right? There was a time where women could not vote or have any possession over their money, or be able to sign bank accounts under their own names, or cars or houses, or any type of like paperwork couldn't be signed in their names, right? And so this is a history of where there are less money blocks for men, because men have had access to more of this for longer, specifically white men, right? Where like black people literally could not even purchase land for until like if you think about the whole timeline, it's like pretty recently, which is fucking crazy, right? And so there are less barriers for white males than there are for women and people of color. And so that is 100% real and valid and an actual factual thing, but that's not up for debate. What I want to say, though, is sometimes we use different facts like this to kind of keep ourselves within that space of thinking, and literally then kind of further block ourselves, right? Like that's already a really valid way of looking at your money story. But I think what ends up happening sometimes too is that we then further and perpetuate some of those blocks because we continue to feed into those stories. So this is something that I did for a really long time. And the way I see it and the way that I understand it in my own experience is that I believe that we are always transforming and rebirthing. Okay, so I have multiple placements in Scorpio. I don't know about you all. If we have some Scorpios in here, let me know. I have multiple Scorpio placements. I'm a Scorpio sun. My Venus, my Jupiter is in Scorpio. My fifth house is Scorpio. There's like so much, like so much. Scorpio is the ruler of death, rebirth, and transformation. Okay. And transformation is a really big theme in my life. And I believe regardless of your placements, you are always rebirthing and you are always upgrading. You're always leveling up, right? Think of like Pokemon. There's always an evolution. Oh yeah, you're Scorpio moon. Beautiful. So this is just a natural occurrence of our lives, right? In human design, a lot of the energy types will have like a certain way of living. You might have looked into your energy type. So I'm a generator, right? And there's certain things we're meant to do for the first 30 years of our life. And then there's like a certain way of living for like the next 30 years after that. It's literally crazy. Like the first 30 years of my life is like trial and error and like bumping into things bumping into me figuring things out, me making mistakes, me learning lessons, me making connections and then breaking connections, right? Which has been my entire life with like relationships and connecting and on and off relationships and making mistakes and learning from my mistakes and like all over, right? Like that's something that's like really heavy in my 3 line. And also as a generator, I'm here to build and I'm here to use that experience. So when I hit 30, from 30 to 60, I am meant to implement everything that I've learned from the first 30 years of my life. And this is going to show up different based on your profile lines and your energy type and your entire like energetic blueprint, right? So that's an interesting fact about human design and about how we're meant to kind of show up in the world. We are rebirthing. Yeah. So we're always transforming. We're always rebirthing. We're always going through new seasons of our lives. And what I believe is that we always have an opportunity to change the stories that we are telling ourselves. I see projectors kind of running in the back of our heads. Like the back of your brain is a projector and it is running some type of reel, some type of film, some type of storyline that we are continuously perpetuating. And until we get to a point where we change that story, until we get to a point where that story ends up being something that we reframe, it is just going to keep running in the projector in the back of our brain. And since we are always rebirthing, since we are always transforming, we have an opportunity to change that at any given time. Right? But do we end up always doing that? No. We end up going back to what is safe and familiar and subconscious and letting that kind of be the bed that we've made and that we end up sleeping in. Right? Because it's just easier to do that than to develop a whole new story and a whole new concept around how we're meant to show up and what we're meant to do, et cetera, et cetera. And so I just want to offer that we have an opportunity to change the way that we see things and change the way that we tell ourselves. Like, I believe that your results are created by your energy, by your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, and of course your actions, but mainly your thoughts and emotions, right? So if the results that you're seeing in your life, especially around money, are not optimal, are not the way that you want it to be, are not the way that you desire for your life, ultimately, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you are working a day job and you're like, God, I don't know how much longer I can do this, then really sitting and looking at yourself and asking, what do I want to shift? What stories do I need to shift, right? And giving yourself some time to allow that to shift. So it might not be something that happens overnight, but it might be something that you start doing gradually, that because you started today, your 2023 can be a completely different version of you because you decided, this is how I'm choosing to show up. This is how I'm choosing to change my money story. This is how I'm choosing to no longer believe what my family has told me and what my partners have told me and my family and friends and communities have told me around money. And this is what I now choose to believe. This is what I now choose to believe about money. I have a good friend. She's also a coach. Her name's Kat Del Carmen. I love her. And we've known each other for a while. We followed each other for a while. And something that she talks about a lot with her people is, and something that came up with one of her clients in a session was like, oh, but my people, like my community just like doesn't invest in themselves. And Kat challenged that for her client and was like, well, I'm going to paraphrase, right? I don't think this is exactly what she said, but this is how I understand her understanding is like you thinking that is going to perpetuate more of that. What if you decided to believe that your community loves investing in themselves, right? What if your community loves to pour into themselves and you think of all the reasons why and you just continue to let that be your new story that you tell yourself. And then, you know, over time, of course, like this is true for her clients and her community as a whole, is that they started attracting more and more people, not because they did anything differently, not because they lowered or raised their prices. I mean, maybe that happened, right? But it wasn't attributed to that or anything changing other than their thoughts and their energy around, hey, people love to invest in themselves. And when you believe that, when you come from that energy, you can probably already feel it, right? Versus like, no one's going to invest. No one wants to invest. It's just too expensive. No, people don't do this. No, people don't do this in my country. People don't do this in my community. People don't do this in my state, right? This is not what happens here. Like people don't invest in themselves. You block any type of change or reframe from happening. And you solidify that story into people do not invest, end of story, period, moving on, right? But when you open it into, no, people do love to invest in themselves. I see it because people will buy themselves luxury handbags and people like to invest in ways of making their body feel good or look good, right? Like even there, like there's so many reasons that we can find and evidence for things that people like to buy and how people love to spend money, right? Like it's, you don't have to go far just to find those examples. And then you start thinking about your people and your community, and you start applying that to the people you want to work with, right? That's what I mean by your community, is like who excites you the most to work with, right? So you think about that and then you start applying that into those people, and that energy goes from, oh, I have closed this ball of people don't want to invest and will not invest and don't like to invest, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All these stories about not investing and not believing they're worthy, into opening that ball, opening that sphere, opening that belief into, well, what if people do want to invest? Like, what if there's a lot of evidence? What if there's like this reason and that reason and that reason and then you get on sales calls and you talk about your offer and you talk about your packages and you come from this energy of like, no, people do want to invest. Like, yeah, people love this. People love this shit. People love investing in coaching. They love investing in their brain. They love becoming better versions of themselves, right? You could think of all the reasons, right? Like there's these best-selling like self-help books, right? And I'm a coach, so I can help them personalize it to their life. And this is how I can help them. And people love this because there are coaches that make multi-million dollars and mentors that are doing great and courses that sell out, blah, 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 right? You can find evidence all around you that is like, no, this is true, right? Women love to invest in themselves. Women of color love to invest in themselves. My community loves to invest in themselves. People love to pay me. They get excited to pay me, right? So you continue climbing this ladder and climbing this ladder of these thoughts that you end up creating that are then perpetuated into your reality because you are reframing and changing that story that's being projected from this projector that's in your brain. But it starts with you shifting and being open and curious, opening that door and going, wait, have I closed the door on this belief? Or Am I able to crack the door open a little bit and see, okay, is this actual factual information, or is this just something that I have created in my head that is a story that was just told to me over and over and over, but not actually fact? Most of the time, what we believe is just something that's been told to us over and over and over and over and over, not actually something that is true. Right? The things that we believe versus the things that are actually like factual are like, I would say there's like a percentage of that. Most of our beliefs are just stories that we've been told and that we think is like highest level of belief, or else why would we think it? Why would we believe it? We think it's like the highest, like best way of approaching a certain situation, or the best opinion that we can formulate around a specific concept, based on what we've been exposed to, what we've been told, what communities and experiences and frames of references and ranges of privilege that we've had growing up. That is why it is so important that's why critical thinking is so important, critical thinking skills, but actually just breaking down, like, why do I believe this? Do I believe this because it's just been told to me my entire life? And because it's been perpetuated by different people in different communities and different seasons of my life? Or is it something that I actually truly believe and want to continue believing? So money is something that we as a society, again, have demonized, have called the root of all evil, have said that money is, more money, more problems, et cetera, et cetera. We have created so much messaging around money, not because money is actually harder to manifest. It could actually be the easiest thing to manifest, but we think that it's the hardest thing to manifest because we've created so many stories and so much narrative around money, that we have made it become something that is hard to attract, hard to hold, hard to receive, hard to invest, hard to save, hard, difficult, challenging, impossible. Not for people like me. That's what we've told ourselves. Because it's true? No. Right? Again, highlighting and validating that this has been historically more challenging for women and people of color. Yes. But the stories that we are continuing to perpetuate and tell ourselves are things that we can continue to reframe, right? That's what we're in charge of. When we continue to give our power away over and over and over and over, that is when we start losing, right? But when you start taking charge of, this is what I choose to believe from now on forward, and you have the opportunity to shift that at any point of your perspective, change your story, believe a new story, right? This is all available to you always. And this is available to everybody, right? In a general perspective, we are all able to shift our perspectives. It might be harder for some of us because of our lineages and because we're, people of color, because we're women, etc. There are going to be things that are harder. There are going to be things that are just a little bit more challenging. Doesn't mean that it's impossible, right? Doesn't mean that that we're not capable of doing it. Yeah, I think that is mainly what I wanted to download. So I am teaching this theme of money always, but specifically in the month of October. This is the theme for Business Activation Academy, which is my signature coaching program. It is a pre-recorded 6 modules that are core modules that get straight to the point and teach you how to attract your first clients, how to own your magic and how to find your magic, how to work with beta clients. So if you don't know what beta clients are, when you first start coming into your magic and your soul gift and you're wanting to coach, but you're not sure where to start, I teach you how to attract and how to work with beta clients, which are free practice clients that you work with in exchange for a testimonial. So that way you gain experience, you learn more about what you want to what you want to teach and what you want to coach on through working with beta clients. And then you get a testimonial, you get their feedback on how you want to kind of formulate your program moving forward. And then you learn how to attract paying clients from then on and continue to build out your offer. So if any of this resonated with you and you are looking to create more harmony in attracting and investing and saving and receiving and really being that wealthy CEO that you know that you are meant to be, I invite you to join us inside Business Activation Academy. It is the magic business school. If you have soul gifts, if you're a starseed, if you're an empath, and you know that you are here to build a business with your mind, body, and soul, led by someone who's done the same, and you want to infuse that flow and alignment into your business, that integrity, these values are important to you, not just cold hard strategy, but the alignment behind your energy and your thoughts and your unique soul gifts, partnering with the spirit of your business and the spirit of money, then I invite you to join us. I just introduced a new payment plan. So there is a 5 payment plan that is now available, that has never been available. So go check that out. It's the link in my bio, Business Activation Academy. It's also tiffanychung.co/BAA. And you can read all about it and apply. And of course, if you have any questions, my DMs are open. I'm always open to dialogue and offer support around that. Okay, so I'll answer your question. What affirmation do you recommend for going to college and wanting to attract money to go to school? Yeah, that's a good one. I would say it's the same. So the thing with affirmations, and I love affirmations, is that if we are just repeating affirmations on a daily basis, it's not going to do shit, right? It's just going to be something that we say and go through the motions. When you are looking at attracting money, it is looking at the money story that you are already perpetuating and what you already believe about money and the energetics behind money, and really understanding that and understanding where there may be stoppages or blockages around attracting more money and manifesting that, right? So that's the main thing that I would look at first, rather than like a magical affirmation that's just going to kind of solve all of our issues, because we can speak affirmations all day, but if there are underlying things that we're not looking at, you want to kind of look under the hood rather than like just washing the car 600 times, right? You want to like look at like, okay, is there an engine problem? Is there a like check engine light that's on? Or is it a transmission issue? Or is the car out of alignment, right? So I would look at like, I mean, it looks like you've stayed on for a good amount of this live. So you probably heard me talking about like your projections and your money story. I would look at like, what do I believe about money? I would get really clear on like why you want this money and how, like what you're going to do with it, right? What do you believe that going to college and getting an education is going to do for your future, your career? What are your intentions, right? Set some intentions around it. Get clear on how you want to feel when that money comes into your life. Think about ways in which you have created and perpetuated money stories throughout your life. What have you been told about money growing up? What have you believed about money from your friends and your environments? And really looking at how that's serving you now, and how you're willing to and open to breaking out of that and creating a new story in which you are abundant and you fund your college experience and all of the beautiful things you're going to do within your college experience, and how that is going to help you become the person you want to be. Does that make sense? So I would really look at those things over a specific affirmation, because that is going to be kind of that underlying basis that's going to create not just like $100 here, $100 there, but actual financial abundance and wealth sustainably throughout your lifetime. Yeah. But yeah, one of my favorite affirmations though, so I can share one with you, is money flows effortlessly to me and through me. So it reminds me that I am but a steward of money, right? When we all die, we're not going to be able to take money with us into the afterlife. And so while we're on earth, we're always giving and we're always receiving. And so I want to be a good steward of money that is able to give intentionally and also attract in ways that are going to serve me. So for you, going to college, getting this education, studying something that you love, what is that going to do for you, and how are you going to get extremely clear on that, and how that's going to serve your soul purpose and your mission here on earth, the reason that you came to earth, right? And beyond that, how are you going to give and steward this money so that it comes through you in a way that is also intentional and in alignment with your purpose and your mission and what you want to bring into this world. This was like an entire masterclass on the energetics of money. I hope you all walk away with ways to really think about how your money story is perpetuating in your life still. Right? What have you clung on to? What stories have you believed? What are things that you have allowed yourself to make truth and fact when in reality, it's just been something that's told to you over and over and over, right? And how can you give yourself space and time to shift that and allow it to be something new? And shift that into the new paradigm of attracting money, investing money, saving money, holding money, and knowing that you are safe receiving more and more and more money. Again, these are all things that I cover inside Business Activation Academy, which is my signature coaching program. You are a new coach, you're a new mentor, you are looking to attract more clients into your business effortlessly and through flow and ease and alignment and opening up yourself to create more capacity to receive money, to be a good steward of money, and really be able to make an impact with your soul gifts and your soul purpose as a spiritual entrepreneur, a spirit-led entrepreneur. I invite you to join us inside Business Activation Academy. It's the first link in my bio. You can't miss it. Go and read about it and apply if it feels right to you. Thank you everyone for being here. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe. If this episode resonated with you, please take a screenshot, share it on your Instagram stories, and tag me at tiffanychung.co. I truly appreciate interacting with every one of you. Catch you all on the next one.